Hey, it's Jesse. I just wanted to thank everyone who has reached out to us about the fires here in Los Angeles. And I also wanted to reassure everyone that Jennifer and Daniel and I are entirely safe. None of us have evacuated. Everyone else at Max Fun is also safe. We have had some evacuations and challenges, but everybody is doing okay considering the circumstances. If you want to give some money to support the recovery efforts, one good place to give is the California Community Foundation. They're at calfund.org, and they not only will be directly funding both emergency response and recovery efforts, but also fund local foundations for local recovery efforts. Great foundation. That's calfund.org. We also have a very beloved former colleague, Librarian Perello, who lost his home in the Eaton Canyon fire. So we're going to put a link to a GoFundMe for Librarian and his wife, Cynthia, in the show notes. Okay, enjoy the show.
Happy New Year, at least hopefully not worse year. It's your Judge John Hodgman, and we are clearing the docket. Is it weird to buy books when your spouse is a librarian? You'll find out in a moment, but make sure you hit all of those likes and those subscribes and all of the smashy buttons that you can. Leave a comment and let's get on the road. Ow. Wow, that hurt. That really hurt.
Welcome to the Judge John Hodgman podcast. I'm bailiff Jesse Thorne, and in the winter wonderland of Brooklyn, New York City, is my friend Judge John Hodgman.
Why, it's true, Jesse. We're here in the new year, and it is snowing real snowflakes, not the fake stuff. You know, let me tell you something. You want to know some behind-the-scenes Hollywood trickery?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to hear about behind-the-scenes Hollywood trickery.
If you want to make fake snow on the ground, you know what you do? If you want to make fake slush on the ground, I learned this when we were filming the Hulu musical comedy Up Here. Romantic musical comedy, romantic musical rom-com. Anyway, it was created by our friends Bobby Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, listeners to the show and wonderful geniuses and people. And we were filming at night, and it was supposed to be during the winter, but we were filming during the summer. What do you do, Jesse? Well, you get a Superman to fly backwards around the earth until it changes the season or something. Or take cotton batting, good old-fashioned cotton, put it on the ground, and then make it wet. And it looks just like slush.
Wow.
It's also disgusting. Ruins the whole neighborhood. I think they cleaned it up after.
When our friend Rachel Bloom, creator of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Yeah, incredible talent.
Brilliant, wonderful lady too. When she was shooting Crazy Ex-Girlfriend outside of our office building one day, she was kind enough to allow me and my daughter to come visit the set. And we had a great time. And they were shooting a song, a musical number about the Santa Ana winds in Southern California.
Sure.
So they had a guy from, what's that musical? Jersey Boys, about the Four Seasons. They had a guy who had been in the Broadway production of Jersey Boys.
Sure.
Performing as the Santa Ana winds. And he was completely surrounded by crumpled up newspaper. I'm talking about a full city block of crumpled up newspaper.
Wow.
And more enormous fans than you have ever seen in your life.
Well, I don't know, Jesse. I've been to some live Judge John Hodgman shows.
Yeah, well, we got to let my glowing locks fly.
I just mean to say we have some incredible fans. That's all.
Oh, okay, I got it. Oh, well, I'll tell you this, John. When you're in a real winter wonderland, a lovely thing to do is hole up in your cozy studio and clear the docket.
Oh, you're moving on.
I don't know. Yeah, sure. I mean, we'd already covered Hollywood magic.
I said that I wasn't going to mess with the camera, but since we're on YouTube now at Judge John Hodgman Pod on YouTube, I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see the magic.
I'm really excited about this.
All right. Well, I hope this works. Watch me fall over, knock the camera down. All right. I'm taking off my headphones.
He's taking off his headphones. Jennifer, we can talk any we want to. Jennifer's catchphrase is back.
I didn't know what else to say.
That was a perfect use of your catchphrase.
You know, I used cotton batting once to make a a large container of Ben and Jerry's ice cream. I use the cotton batting as ice cream.
Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Winter Wonderland.
Wow. It's beautiful out there in Brooklyn. Look at that lovely dusting of snow.
Merry Christmas, you old building and loan.
It's actively snowing, beautifully snowing there in Brooklyn, New York City.
But we are here now to clear a docket, correct?
We do indeed have a docket to clear, John.
And as I alluded, this is our first recording of 2025. We are back in studio after a short holiday break. Thanks for joining us for our holiday special. And we're ready to take on the new year. Over the years, we've had a lot of weird dads and husbands and other partners parade through our courtroom, displaying their very special and eccentric systems, new complicated systems for doing the dishes, maximizing solar power, and keeping a never-ending stock of gelato in the freezer. I think that was a weird wife, actually, more than a weird husband. In any case, though calendars are arbitrary inventions, of course, with the longest night of the year behind us, the new year is as good a time as any to abandon old systems and try some new ones. Jesse, do you have any New Year's resolutions, any systems of habit or thought that aren't working for you anymore that you're going to change up?
I want to get a vibe together like a guy that knows karate.
You want to get a vibe together like a guy that knows karate.
I just don't think I'm going to have time to learn karate. But
right.
You know how a guy that's really good at karate,
Sure,
they have a kind of stillness to them, but also a perpetual sense that they could kick your rear. And that maybe they kind of want to, but they're not going to unless they need to. But you could tell that they would enjoy it if it came to it.
You got that. You want that karate look.
The vibe. I want the vibe. I want to project that into the world. Like look,
I think you can do that.
We've discussed on this program guardian angels, all guardian angels in their little berets on the back of the bus.
Yeah.
Whether or not they knew karate, they had karate vibes.
That's true. I think that you move through life with a lot of grace and elegance, the elegance of a capybara, honestly.
Thank you.
A lot of people ask me, is Jesse Thorne just a capybara who's in a skin suit who's standing on his hind legs? And I'm like, I haven't checked lately, but I think he's human.
I mean, my teeth have never stopped growing.
But you have that you have that sense of inner peace and calm that I know you don't feel, but you project it anyway. I have a system that did not work for me all last year because I made a New Year's resolution to read more books and watch more movies and read less internet. And I did those things, I'm glad to say. I read Middlemarch. I even read another book. I can't think of what it was now, but anyway, read a couple of other books. And I watched a lot of great movies and everything else. And I read less internet. But the thing was, once you make those resolutions, if you're like me, you can be very punitive, self-punitive, I should say. And every time you reach for the wrong thing, you reach for your phone or whatever, it's like you're mad at yourself. And this made for a miserable existence. I couldn't even enjoy these movies or these books. And I have a new system that I'm working on this year, which is instead of thinking at every turn, am I doing the right thing? I'm probably doing the wrong thing. I'm probably making the wrong decision for how to spend this moment on earth that I will never get back in my life. Instead, I'm just going to decide whatever I choose to do. It's like, this is probably the right thing to do because I'm making the decision. I'm just going to say to myself, yeah, you're doing the right thing today. And the best thing to do is record a podcast with a friend.
I'll tell you this sincere answer to your question is, upon the turn of the election, I decided to myself that my default internet button to press, which was the newspaper.
Right.
I shan't say which, but I shall say they've done a lot more both sidesing of gender affirming care for children than I'd like.
I think I know the one you're speaking of.
Yeah, I had been pressing that button out of habit. And I thought, this is not making me a better citizen in any notable way. And it is making me more agitated and upset when I do it. And so I have not looked at the newspaper since then. Since the election, I have not looked at the newspaper. A couple of times I have accidentally typed it into the URL bar out of habit.
Sure. Muscle memory.
But each of those times I have hastily navigated away.
Yeah, I made a similar decision. I realized that my reading the news and getting angry and upset over it was not affecting the news in any way. And therefore, I had no obligation to feel that way.
Can I tell you something that is affecting the news in a positive way?
Oh, yes, please.
So a few weeks ago on the show, I shared that my family, my wife and I, had issued a $25,000 challenge to listeners of Judge John Hodgman and Jordan Jesse Go and folks who followed us on social media to raise money for an organization called Al Otro Lado, which means the other side in Spanish. They do direct services for migrants on both sides of the U.S.-Mexico border.
Yes.
And I had told the Al Otro Lado people, look, I'll get you my $25,000. I have no idea. Well, I have no idea what's going to happen with this. Please do not raise your hopes.
Yeah, your challenge was we're committed, you and Teresa are committed to donating $25K to this incredible organization. And the challenge was to the listeners that could you match it? In other words, if the listeners gave $25K, you and Teresa would match it. That was your commitment. And I don't know, Jesse, I haven't been checking in. Have you been getting close to that rather ambitious goal?
Let me tell you a story, John.
I love a story.
4 or 5 days after that episode came out, we were at like $24,000.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sitting there refreshing this feed thinking, well, what's going to happen when we hit $25,000? That's the totality of our match. Will people keep giving? How can we keep the ball rolling, in other words?
Yes.
I get a text message from a friend of a friend. This friend of a friend wishes to remain anonymous.
F and of F. F of an F.
This person says, my family was inspired by your listeners and your generosity. We would like to provide a second $25,000 match.
Whoa.
I said, holy mackerel. They said from 25 to 50, that's us. We'll match it. We passed 25. It's literally 5 or 6 days later. We're about to hit 50. And
Whoa.
I'm having the same thoughts. I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. How could we keep this ball rolling? How could this work? Like, I don't know any actual rich people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's usually who does this. I get a message from a Judge John Hodgman listener who I do not know.
Okay.
They say, our family foundation has been inspired by the generosity of you and the listeners and that second match. We'd like to provide a third $25,000 match. I say, are you for real? They say, yes. I check. They are.
Right.
I connect them with Al Otro Lado. We update the website at alotrolado.org/let's do something. Third $25,000. So up to $75,000.
Wow. Okay.
Can I just tell you, as we sit here in the new year, I am typing the website into my phone, and I am going to tell you, we currently sit at $89,206.
Whoa.
Plus $75,000 in matching. So that is $165-ish thousand for Al Otro Lado. It is absolutely mind-bending.
That's
and will make
incredible.
a very, unlike looking at that newspaper.
Right.
And getting upset, will make a huge impact in the actual lives of actual human beings. One of the, I love to read the little comments that people leave when they make their donation. I love that a lot of people have been making recurring donations too.
Yeah. They go first.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But somebody posted, last year, 2 years ago, my uncle went and spent a couple of weeks at the border volunteering with Al Otro Lado. Uncle, presumably an attorney. They have a lot of attorney volunteers that go down there and work with them. He said he came back and all he could talk about was how effective they are.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about actually doing stuff. So anyway, thanks, Judge John Hodgman listeners. Unbelievable.
Thank you, Judge John Hodgman listeners. And that really is the message. I was not advocating for complacency, either in your personal goals or your goals and values for the world. I just mean to say, there's no point in making yourself upset. The world is organized to make you upset. There are people who want you to be upset. You should take care of yourself, and you should take direct care of others in any way you possibly can. And this is an incredible way to do it. Al Otro Lado. If people want to continue to keep this ball rolling, Where do they go for this, Jesse?
alotrolado.org/let's do something. And we'll put the
Let's
link
do
in
something.
the show description in your podcast app as well. But
Headline, though, from that story, I have to say for me, is that we have a Judge John Hodgman listener who has a family foundation.
yeah,
It's very exciting.
totally thrilling.
Bring us to your island. We'd like to visit. I also have a New Year's resolution, which is to periodically get the cold that I got on Friday so that my voice sounds like this all the time.
Oh yeah.
I haven't had a deep mellifluous voice like this for a long time, and this voice wants to dispense some justice. And today's docket is all about systems. We're going to rule whether or not these litigants and their systems are right or wrong, which systems will thrive in 25, and which will get the knife in 25.
Rhymes with thrive. The knife.
Right.
Get the knife.
Jesse, let's clear this docket.
Okay, here's a case from Emily in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Anytime my husband Frank hears about a book he's interested in reading, he immediately jumps on major website name redacted and buys it. Putting aside the many problems I have with that website, Frank's book buying system drives me bananas because I am a librarian.
Wow.
Just like all JJ Ho listeners, it's true. Some are graphic designers.
That's what Emily wrote. That's not a snarky comment that
Yeah.
we put in. That's what Emily wrote.
If he's interested in a book, I can bring it home from work that day. I want him to at least check in with me about any book before he buys it. Judge Hodgman, what do you think about Frank's book buying system? Time for him to ditch it?
Jennifer Marmer, you're here too, right? Producer Jennifer, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Any New Year's resolutions?
Yeah. Basically, I want to become a morning person and I want to be a person who enjoys cleaning. So basically, I want to be a brand new person. And I think I can do it.
Resolving is going to be the thing that makes that happen, Jen.
Here's what I say. You're perfect the way you are. Let yourself off the hook. Sleep in and live in squalor. That's my advice for you.
Great.
Except when we have a morning record.
My son will just be late for school. All good.
Well, anyway, there are things that you have to do, but
Of course.
Yes. Well, I made a resolution not long ago to wake up with my wife, who's a whole human being in her own right, and walk out the door with her when she goes to teach school, high school. I don't go to that high school. That would be weird. What if I enrolled as a high school student? Back to school, Rodney Dangerfield style.
I love it. I mean, you're a great diver.
That's true.
That's the plot of Back to School.
I hope those students give you some respect.
I know.
Well, I don't get any is the thing. I go to the coffee shop and I do a little work, and it actually has really, it really helped. I don't do it every day, but I've noticed that if I just sit up in bed, the next thing that happens is my feet are on the floor, and the next thing that happens is I'm going. Getting started is the 99% of the battle. Anyway, what about reading books? Now, we're talking about, I read a bunch of books and I like them, but I don't read physical media anymore because my eyes are messed up. What's your system for reading / borrowing / buying books, Jesse Thorne? Do you have a hierarchy of what you do and when you do it?
John, I'm a public radio host. So if there is any system that I need to develop, it is a system to get rid of books.
Oh, okay.
The number of books that appear in my life unbidden is limitless.
Right.
So I generally, you'll find me leaving a lot of books at the little library outside of the art gallery by my house.
Yeah. But
when I want a book, I do usually buy it. I'm not by no means am I anti-library,
right.
But no. I like to buy books when I want them because that way I am supporting the authors of those books.
Jennifer Marmer,
Mm-hmm.
how do you like to read a book when you have time to read one?
Well, lately, in the spirit of not looking at apps that bring you news and make you angry or make me angry, I started last year revisiting the Libby app, but on my phone. The Libby app is the library app in the United States. Maybe in other countries, I'm not sure, but you can connect your local library card to this app and then you can borrow from the library. ebooks, obviously, and audiobooks. And audiobooks.
Oh, we said it in stereo. Some of them are in stereo.
Yes. So, I have read a lot more in the latter half of 2014. Oh my gosh, 2024.
2004.
2024 than I had in a long time. And that system was working great for me, especially because, when I'm doing bedtime with my young kids, often they are not quite asleep. They don't want me to leave, but I don't have to do anything. I'm just sitting there.
Yeah.
And that used to be, crossword time or look at internet and get stressed out time. And now it's just my reading time, which I really have enjoyed. And I've gotten through a lot of books on my to read list that way.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I do buy books, occasionally. And, that's fun for me. But mostly right now I'm doing some library books.
I will say that, yes, enjoying culture that has a beginning, middle, and end that wasn't dashed off in a fit of rage, but was actually considered and made by a talented person in no matter what format that is. It's really, really meditative and lovely. And I will also say, I just happened to notice I have Libby on my phone, which I use, and I didn't think about this until this moment because I forgot they had audiobooks until we said it in stereo. But at least at my connected library in Maine, you can borrow the audiobooks for the areas of my expertise, more information than you require, and that is all. The areas of my expertise, that's a 7-hour listening experience. I never thought of it that way. And then more information than you require, 13 hours. I do like to buy books when I can. If you have the means, it is a great way to support authors, obviously, because they get a royalty on every sale, which is important to authors, speaking as one. And it is also the way to support a bookstore. But I don't buy books from major website name redacted anymore, nor do I buy ebooks from that website, because I am not supporting my local bookstore when I do that. And so I feel that reading books is very personal. It is a chance to be essentially by yourself with the brain of another person and entering a world that perhaps is a little bit more consoling than this one. And however you intimately engage with the book, whether you read better on a screen or whether on paper or whatever, you have a chance every time you read a book to do something good. And whether that is supporting your local library or supporting your local bookstore, or supporting an author by buying a book if you have the means, that's all very, very good feelings. But running out and buying from a major website name redacted, no offense, like I'll still buy Japanese Kit Kats from that company because that's where you got to go. But for books, I'm much more likely to support Books Are Magic if I'm going to buy, and I'm much more likely to go to the Blue Hill Public Library and borrow a book there, or the Friend Memorial Library, or the Park Slope Brooklyn Public Library here in Brooklyn, New York. It's a wonderful way to engage with your community, to go physically into your librarian and meet your librarian, and maybe say hi to your wife if you live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. She's a librarian. Maybe we met her at our show.
We did.
Oh, hi, Emily. Sorry, whoops.
No.
I mean, boy, oh boy, what a delight it was to go into that particular library. Even like we did it. So if you don't remember, we went to Ann Arbor on the generous auspices of the Ann Arbor Public Library, and we did a live Judge John Hodgman there. It was one of the highlights of the tour, and we got to do the show right there in the library, and I got to browse the stacks. We did the whole show right in front of their incredibly capacious and complete graphic novel collection, and it was a lot of fun. And frankly, speaking of frankly, I wouldn't know why Frank wouldn't go to the library to see his lovely wife and borrow a book there, for heaven's sake. I'll tell you what, Frank, if you don't get out to the library, I'm going to go back to Ann Arbor, go back to that library, and I'm going to marry your wife. Sorry, buddy.
I'll tell you this. As much as I'm a big buy the book to support the author guy,
yeah.
As the husband of an author, my wife's book, Teresa Thorne, It Feels Good to Be Yourself, in bookstores now. Buy it for a child in your life. And as an author to be, my own self, I will say library sales are absolutely essential to the success of books. So
True.
if there's a book that you would like to check out and it's not available at your library, be sure to mention it to your librarian. They will use that as justification to purchase a copy or purchase another copy. They'll be thrilled that somebody wants a book. So do ask for a book. That actually makes a big impact for authors as well.
I know that to be true because I have been on the wait list, on the hold list in Libby for a very popular novel that came out last year by Miranda July.
Oh, that's one of the books I read.
Just dropped a copy of that off at the little library. Maybe it's still there. I'll go take a look.
It's okay. I'm very close.
We might as well say the book. It's All Fours by Miranda July.
Yes.
It's a terrific novel. One of the novels I read this year.
I've been on that wait list since October. And I, every now and then check on it, see where I'm at. There's a lot of people waiting for the ebook, and my library, the LA Public Library, has acquired 59 more copies since I placed my hold because it's so popular. People, and not every book is a All Fours situation, but even just putting yourself on those hold lists, it lets the library know, buy more of this.
Check out that. That's a wonderful book, and check out Miranda July talking about it on Bullseye if you're interested in that book. She is one cool lady. I love a great artist who is so able to write about big feelings and the central issues and themes of our life, who also just has a bunch of stuff in her book that's so funny, you have to read it out loud to your partner after you read it. Miranda July is so funny. Very underrated part of Miranda July. So funny.
It's unfair that she's so funny because she's so talented in every other way.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Emily in Ann Arbor, Michigan, thanks again for having us out to the library. Maybe you can get a copy of All Fours over to Jennifer Marmer. Mm-hmm. If Frank isn't abusing your kind offer to skip the line at the library, maybe you could help out Jennifer Marmer with a copy of All Fours.
Yeah, what we really learned here is that librarians are skipping the line for their partners.
Yeah, what a scandal. What a scandal. We're breaking the scandals here on Judge John Hodgman.
Okay, here's something from Shelby in Frederick, Maryland. What is the correct way to say and spell the word aluminum? My husband Kyle insists that aluminium is correct. I know that's how they say it in the UK, but Kyle and I have lived in the US our entire lives. I say it's pretentious to ask for the aluminium foil. He says the rest of the whole world says it that way. Please tell him I don't care about the whole world because he is wrong. Cheers to your system, Kyle.
Well, according to our friends Emily Brewster and the gang over at Merriam-Webster's Dictionary, they had a whole article about this, which you can find, about aluminum versus aluminium. And here's what I learned. The substance aluminum is the most abundant of all the metallic elements in the Earth's crust. But doesn't exist on its own in nature. It's like gunked up with other rocks.
Do you think that aluminum manifested abundance this year?
I think so. I think that's probably right. And it was described as in its pure metallic state by a dude named Sir Humphrey Davy in 1790, who didn't even say aluminum. He called it alumium. And then someone added an N, and then someone added an I as well. I think that the earliest version is aluminum. Aluminium became common almost immediately after because it sounded to certain European and other ears a little bit more, a little more similar to sodium and potassium and other words that sounded that way, and it sounded a little bit better and more coherent that way.
A little sciencier.
A little sciencier, but it is completely, I mean, as Kyle points out, the rest of the world mostly does say aluminium, but we say aluminum. My question is to you, Jesse. If you're going to make a whale tank in San Francisco in order to transport some whales to the future, what's the best material to use?
You're going to need transparent aluminum for that.
Transparent aluminum.
Hello, computer.
Yes. That's a Star Trek Search for Spock reference.
No, Star Trek The Voyage
The Voyage
Home.
Home. I apologize.
San Francisco. I was born there.
Yes. As far as I'm concerned, if Scotty says transparent aluminum and he's from Scotland, then I think that Kyle should go ahead and say aluminum, just like everyone else in the United States, North America. Yeah. I don't know.
He's probably at pubs at 5 a.m. watching the Premier League. He's one of these guys.
Oh, he's like an early morning football watcher at the pub.
Ugh.
It's a little pretentious, I think, even in Frederick, Maryland.
Yeah.
Sorry, aluminum it is. Sorry about that, Kyle.
Let's take a quick break and hear from this week's partners. We'll be back in just a moment with more cases from the docket to clear on the Judge John Hodgman podcast.
Does he also say ta for thank you?
Welcome back to the Judge John Hodgman podcast. We are clearing the docket this week, and all of our cases involve systems. Here's a case from Glenn in Portland, Oregon. I live with my partner, Arwen, and our 2 teenagers. My family has a history of using and breaking things I care about. For example, I have a favorite mug. It's medium blue with white line-drawn illustrations of cephalopods on the outside. Really, Judge John Hodgman listener? This just isn't adding up. I keep it on a high shelf so that I'm the only one who can use it.
Yes.
Yes. Arwen found it up there. She doesn't understand why I was hiding it from everyone else. Now everyone uses it, but I want to keep it safe. Is my system good weird or bad weird?
And Glenn sent in a picture of the cephalopodic mug. In the photo of his mug, the cat is in focus. His Vincent Price action figure is in focus. His bucket hat is in focus, but the mug, which is what we're supposed to be seeing here, is not in focus. For whatever reason, Glenn decided to share all of the other Judge John Hodgman obsessions, cats and Vincent Price and so forth. And the mug just sort of fell into the foreground in blurry foreground. But it looks like a pretty good mug. Jesse, Jennifer, do you have any items that you hide from your family?
I've thought about hiding mugs from my colleagues at Max Fun.
Really? What you got a favorite?
I have what I consider to be my on-air mugs. I'm not a hot beverage drinker, so mugs are not an important part of my life. But
yeah,
I do have Judge John Hodgman YouTube viewers have spotted my on-air mugs. It's basically a rotation of 3 mugs. One is a mug from the New York radio station WNYX, which admittedly is a fictional radio station from the television show News Radio.
I was just going to say.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Dave Foley, by the way.
Indeed. Happy birthday, Dave. One is my mug emblazoned with the cover of the E40 album In a Major Way.
Mm-hmm.
And the third is from a certain sitcom about podcasting, starring the guy from Scrubs. And every time I drink from that one I acquired because a listener knew that I was obsessed with a promo for that sitcom in which the guy from Scrubs' child said to him, "Nobody thought radio was cool until you did it." And I got obsessed with it. And then a listener sent me that they were at a thrift store in Oakland and they had seen an entire rack of mugs advertising this long since canceled sitcom.
Right.
And I got so excited, but I was so disappointed because I wasn't in Oakland until my friend Roman Mars from 99% Invisible stepped in.
There you go.
Roman either went to or sent an underling. He's got a lot of underlings, a very successful show, to this thrift store to buy all of the mugs.
Wow.
And he mailed us some. And so if those get broken, those are irreplaceable. Nobody thought radio was cool until you did it, Dad.
Well, that's what all of your children say to you every morning, right?
You know, at the end of the day, there's nothing that kids think is cooler than the podcast startup.
I hide my Antiques Roadshow Yeti flask from my family.
I bet.
That this style, the fact that the Roadshow gave me this style of flask, the one that I can drink while lying down, is so it was kismet. It was serendipitous, and I love it so much. And if I don't hide it, people in my family, my wife, who's a whole human being in her own right, will take it from me and use it herself and then leave it someplace where I can't find it. It's just the way it happens. I have a very special hiding place in the kitchen where I hide it every morning because the way I know that I can get it again. It's just the thing that I need in order to sleep. So there you go. That's my system. That's what I hide. So I asked Glenn to send in a picture of this mug, and he did, along with Vincent Price and the cat and everything else. And then he said, shortly after I sent you this photo, the mug disappeared, and he doesn't even know where it is now because his family got its paws on it. I hope it's not broken, Glenn. I think your system is absolutely fair and reasonable, and I don't know why Arwen is going around. I'm sure she's a wonderful partner. But Arwen, leave Glenn's mugs hidden where they belong. Let him have his mug. Nice cat, by the way.
Here's something from Claire in Banff, Alberta.
That's one of the great names of a town. Banff. It's just one letter off from Banff, the sound that Nightcrawler makes when he teleports.
Okay. My loving partner Adam and I live in a small apartment in Alberta. Our kitchen is tiny. Our counter is only a meter long. That's 39 inches. We aren't even allowed to have an oven.
Whoa.
The problem is Adam uses too many dish towels. He has a 4-towel system. One is wet, one is dry, one is for display, and I don't remember what the 4th is for. I say we only have space for 2 towels, one wet, one dry, the end. I was a chef for 20 years, and I know that's all you need. Tell Adam my system is better.
All right.
First of all, we got to get these folks a countertop oven. I believe in nothing so much as countertop ovens.
You know what? I know the one that you're talking about, and we've mentioned it before on the air, so I'll go ahead and say it. The Breville Smart Oven.
Oh, I love this is a product that has revolutionized my life. I use it 4 times a day.
You know, I don't have one here in New York, but we were very lucky when we hosted a huge Thanksgiving this year that our neighbor across the hallway very generously let us use their kitchen because they were going to be away. And that was wonderful. Thank you very much, Rachel and Leanne. And they have one. And I was making a turkey and warming up a brisket from Franklin Barbecue. And I was like, how am I going to do this? That's why I need 2 ovens. And then I realized the brisket will just fit right into the Breville.
Yeah, you can put a whole chicken in there. You know what? Even if you have a regular oven in a tiny kitchen, I'd advocate for a countertop oven and just keep your breakfast cereals or whatever in the regular oven.
Yeah, you know what you do? You keep your jeans in there or something.
Yeah.
No, you keep your jeans in the freezer. Keep your cereal in the oven.
You could toast the jeans. That would do it too.
All right. But I was astonished that a full Franklin brisket could fit in this thing easily. And I just watched a video of our friend Ken J. Lopez Alt making his Christmas prime rib roast, and he did it in the same oven, a countertop oven. I think it was a Breville. And hey, Kenji, thanks so much for sharing your journey to sobriety with us on your Substack and elsewhere. Very amazing.
Way to go, dude.
Very wonderful.
One day at a time.
We're thinking of you.
Yeah.
In any case, if you are able to get a countertop oven, you should. But let's talk about these dish towels, tea towels, whatever you want to call them. Jesse, do you got a favorite tea towel? Not that you hide from your family, but the one that you're so happy to get when you reach for it.
John, you think your boy JT has a favorite dish towel? Do you think your boy JT is your boy JT or a different guy? Because the answer is obviously yes.
I was thinking that I wanted to hear from my friend JT, who probably has a favorite dish towel.
I have 3 categories of favorite dish towel. Each has its own purpose. I love to buy vintage linen dish towels. Linen is by far the superior dish towel material. It dries fast. It's textural. It's wonderful. And I'll buy like old French, mid 20th century linen dish towels all day long at the flea market. That's not something most people have access to. I will say, if you're imagining me spending a lot of money on this project, you're imagining wrong. Just a really premium old product. You can, if you have a source, you can get them for a few bucks a piece.
Yeah.
But when I'm not using those, There's a store here in Los Angeles called The Good Liver, as in like good living.
Oh, I got it.
And
I thought you meant like the opposite of my liver.
And The Good Liver is a store that sells like very simple, high quality products. Some of them are expensive, but many of them are actually not expensive. And one of the ones that is not expensive are dish towels. They have these Japanese dish towels. There are ones that have a smooth finish that are like a rayon cotton blend, I believe. And then there are ones that have a sort of waffle finish that I think are all cotton. And those waffle ones are great for anything that needs to absorb anything or kind of do a semi scrub. And the smoother ones are good for anything that needs a soft finish. And I love them both. They're both really great products and very reasonably priced.
I have two favorite dish towels in theme. One is a wonderful dish towel I found has an illustration of a girl wrestling an alligator, and it says, "Do one thing every day that scares your family."
Uh-huh.
I mean, novelty dish towels can be pretty corny, I admit. But this one is beautiful.
They can be ineffective dish towels. I think that's the biggest challenge of a novelty dish towel.
This one works pretty well. And then the other novelty dish towel that I enjoy very much is a picture of a couple in a kitchen, and their friends are coming into the kitchen with like a glass of wine and a pie, like they're coming over for dinner. And the words just say, "Go away." Which really speaks to I'm an intro extrovert. And when I'm in introversion mode, that's the tea towel that I like to have, but it is one that my wife, who's a whole human being in her own right, thinks is problematic to display in our home because it sends a message. So, but we're talking about a lot of different towels here, and Claire lives in a tiny little ovenless apartment, I suppose, or maybe a tiny home in Banff, Alberta. And she says 4 towels too much, 2 towels plenty. What do you think, Jesse?
I think that 2 towels is indeed plenty to have an active service.
Okay.
I think you're going to need more than that overall. And I could see a system that involves a display towel if that's your lifestyle. It's not mine. But it sounds like this kitchen is too small for a non-functional towel to me. So I would say 2 towels is going to do it, but you're going to need to be rotating those pretty regularly because, you know, they may be encountering things that are frankly food unsafe.
Right.
If you're using them regularly. I mean, you know, me, Judge Hodgman, like compared to the people that send us emails, I have very loose standards as far as cleanliness and food safety go.
Sure.
But even if I'm wiping down something that could have pathogens on it, will toss the rag that I use to wipe that down and use a clean rag for something that needs to be clean.
Let's say, for the sake of argument, that what Claire is talking about is 2 towels out on the counter or 4, out in use in the kitchen.
In that case, 2 seems fine.
2v4. Yeah, I think that's right. I don't think there's room for a display towel. Where are you displaying it? If you don't have an oven door handle to hang it over, how is it even displayed?
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got a system about air circulation. You gotta watch out for night fans, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, they'll chop up the air and kill you.
Judge John Hodgman, we are about to bring our court back on the road.
Vancouver, British Columbia have not seen you for 5 years. Seattle, Washington have not seen you for at least a year. Same with you, Portland, Oregon, and San Francisco Sketchfest. We saw you last year and we cannot wait to see you again. All these shows and not more, just them, are on sale now at MaximumFun.org/events. Our LA show is sold out. So if you missed that one, why not make a weekend trip up for Groundhog's Day to see us in San Francisco at the Marines Memorial Theater in San Francisco? That's 2/2/25, MaximumFun.org/events.
That's January 29th through February 2nd. Get those tickets at MaximumFun.org/events. And if you haven't already and you live in one of those places, please submit a case to us. Look, your idea may be bad or may be good. We want you to submit it no matter what. We can help you shape and refine it if you're not sure about it. Worst case scenario is we don't use it. We're always grateful for your submission. So if you live near one of those places, go to MaximumFun.org/JJHO and submit your case, because your cases are the clay that we mold into the pot that is the Judge John Hodgman podcast. That's
We're
all
a
I could
pot
think
now.
of that's made out of clay.
I thought it was incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And hey, don't forget that until the end of this tour, we are raising money for Al Otro Lado. So if you want to make a donation to support migrants in a very, very trying time for a very, very vulnerable population, go to alotrolado.org/let's do something. That's alotrolado.org/let's do something. And if you have already given, thank you, because the support has been overwhelming.
ALOTROLADO.org. Let's do something. And speaking of let's doing something, let's get back to the docket.
Welcome back to the Judge John Hodgman podcast. We are clearing the docket with cases about systems. Here is a case from Andrea in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania. My husband says he read in a reputable source that it's bad for fruits and vegetables to be stored without air circulation. He is obsessed. He spreads fruits all over the counter to make sure they don't touch and spoil. He feels the same way about shirts and towels.
Okay.
I believe apples can touch without spoiling. I believe clean shirts can rub elbows on hangers without degrading. And I believe bath towels should be stacked in linen closets. Tell him to stop spreading everything out. It takes up too much space and it looks weird. Man, Judge Hodgman.
Yeah.
You know who's got perfectly spread out shirts?
Tell me who. I think I know who you're going to say.
Friend of the Judge John Hodgman podcast, Jamel Bowie.
Jamel Bowie. Yeah.
Jamel Bowie shot a video in front of his shirts the other day. This guy's shirts look like a boutique display. Handsome man, always looks like $1 million. Jamel Bowie.
If you take pleasure the way I do in hearing smart people say smart things, maybe they're ideas that you've been circling around but haven't been able to articulate yourself, or more likely with Jamel, ideas that never even crossed your mind, particularly with regard to what we might call the political scene. If you want to not read the news, but have some level of in touchness and staying informed with what's going on, you could do far, far worse than watch the little videos that Jamel makes where he talks about issues of the day while holding a little microphone and standing in front of his incredible wardrobe or wearing incredible outfits.
The clarity of his insights is just absolutely extraordinary. Yeah. And also, he's a guy who knows his colors. That video that I watched the other day with him sitting in front of his wardrobe, which is like a visible, it's like a one of these kind of pipe tube closets that's out right out there in the bedroom. He was wearing like a brown sport coat with an orange overcheck and like an orangish sport vest underneath with the collar popping out. And the colors looked so exactly right on Jamel. I'm like, what did this guy go get his colors done? This guy looks perfect.
He knows.
And,
And, can I say something else since we're talking about some of my older work in the areas of my expertise?
This guy's one of these op-ed hunks.
If you look at the author photo of me from 2005 when that book came out, taken by Elizabeth Connor, you will notice that I am wearing a black suit jacket over a black puffy vest and then a collared shirt underneath it. And I didn't know what I was doing at that time. People said, "John Hodgman, what are you doing wearing that puffy vest underneath a suit jacket?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm just feeling it. And the truth is I chickened out after a while and I stopped going for that look because I'm like, maybe they're right. Maybe it's weird. So I stopped doing it.
And the chickened out just in time for it to come into vogue.
I mean, the other truth is I looked like white hot garbage compared to the way Jamel Bowie looks in these videos, but it is very satisfying to me to see Jamel Bouie rocking that puffy vest or puffy, I guess it's a vest probably, underneath that sport coat look, but perfecting it in a way that I never possibly could. From soup to nuts. And he's a podcaster too. He's got a great podcast about Cold War movies from the 90s and Unclear and Present Danger. Jamel Bouie, good job. All right. But did you notice something about his shirts when they were hanging in the back of that video?
I noticed that they were effectively spaced and like rainbow color coordinated.
Yeah. But by effectively spaced, like, were they touching?
I think they probably were touching a little bit.
Did it look like he had gone out of his way to make sure that they were not touching? Let's put it that way.
No, he's not he's not mental. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, I mean, do you believe, as Andrea does, that clean shirts can rub elbows on hangers without degrading?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be possible to pack shirts into your closet so tightly that they crease and you have to iron them before you wear them, or, hang them loose somewhere damp or steam them or whatever. But in general, as long as they're not getting put away damp, they will be entirely fine touching each other in your closet.
Now, how do you like them apples? These apples that are on the counter, I guess, arrayed in a line with a full inch of airspace between them?
There are fruits that off-gas chemicals that can ripen other fruits. For example, I recently learned I had been storing all my like pantry food in a drawer together, and I learned that apparently the off-gassing from onions and garlic makes potatoes last a lot less long and makes them sprout.
Jesse, that's very interesting. I did not know that about onions off-gassing potato-killing gases or potato sprouting gases, which would explain why typically in Maine we keep the onions, because you got to keep potatoes in the dark.
Yeah.
If you don't keep them in the dark, sunlight has a bad effect on them. And if you cut into a potato and the edge of the potato is a greenish tint, that means it's been in the sun too much and it's not going to taste right.
Yep.
So you got to keep them in the dark. I would keep the potatoes and onions together in the dark in a little pull-out cabinet, not a drawer, but a cabinet underneath the counter in our home in Maine. And they would sprout pretty quickly. And let me ask you this, Jesse. Did you ever store potatoes underneath the counter in your home in Maine and then forget that they were there and leave for several months and then come back?
I've never made that mistake specifically.
And then discovered that the potatoes had sprouted horrific Lovecraftian vines that had grown to great length and infiltrated your entire under countertop. And you had to pull them out of the crevices of the drawers and stuff. And then have sort of not, as it's not Cronenbergian body horror, but Cronenberg style vegetable horror.
Something like this happened to me, not the exact same thing, but something like this happened to me when I bought these 3 magic beans.
Here's the thing. One time I went into a restaurant, I can't remember. I had lunch with my friend Adam, who's a food journalist. Adam Sachs, very good at his job. And this was a Danielle Boulud restaurant. It might have been Danielle. It might have been a different one. I don't know if I've never been back, but the entire outer foyer, as you entered the restaurant, was lined on either side by shelves of apples. And there must have been 300, 400 apples in this room. And it was just there so that you would smell apple when you walked in. And it was utterly sublime. I couldn't believe what I was smelling. They must replace those apples every 4 days or something.
They got to watch out for sure for bad apples.
Yeah. Well, one bad apple will spoil the bunch, they say. But it was beautiful. And it reminded you that, yes, your fruits are giving off gases, sometimes delicious odors, sometimes not so delicious odors. But do you know what I noticed about those apples when I was walking through that hallway in Danielle Boulud's restaurant? They were touching. Of course they were touching.
Yeah.
When you see a cartoon and there's an apple cart, what are those apples doing? Touching? No. Or not touching. They're touching.
Yeah.
When you see a pyramid of apples that someone knocks over, Bruce Campbell style, they're touching.
Touching.
Your apples can touch.
They love to touch. Like me and my wife.
Exactly right. And your shirts can touch too. I think what you're saying is true, Jesse. You don't want to bunch your shirts together such that it's hard to get at them and they get all wrinkly. And similarly, you don't want to have so many apples that there's one rotting at the bottom of the pile. But that's just a matter of being judicious, buying just the number of apples you need, just the number of shirts you need, and storing them with a little bit of distance, but it's not make a big deal of it.
The docket's clear. That's it for another episode of Judge John Hodgman. The systems have been either further systematized or destroyed by our revolutionary logic. Judge John Hodgman was created by Jesse Thorne and John Hodgman. Our social media manager is Natty Lopez. Our video editor is Daniel Spear. The podcast edited by AJ McKeon. Our producer is Jennifer Marmer. Photos from the show are posted on our Instagram account at instagram.com/Judge John Hodgman. And Jennifer, do not think that we will not be posting video of both those beautiful snowflakes and John Hodgman struggling to operate a tripod on our social media
The
at
tripod
Judge
isn't
John
the problem.
Hodgman Pod.
The problem was screwing a thing into a thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm screwing up. You know what I mean? That's the law of comedy. Screw up, don't screw down.
Right.
And therefore, I had to go counterclockwise instead of clockwise.
No, it's fine.
Righty was not tight.
No, but everybody thinks it's fine. No, everybody thinks it's fine.
Well, how many judges does it take to screw in a tripod?
Thank you, Jennifer. At Judge John Hodgman Pod on TikTok and YouTube. The worst joke in the history of our show.
No, I think my enormous fans joke was the worst. Come on, don't take that away from me.
Follow and subscribe on TikTok and YouTube to see both episodes and clips from episodes and also video-only content. A lot of great video content from our holiday show the other day. That's on YouTube, on TikTok, and on Instagram.
And I just got an email from a listener saying they really like the show on YouTube because they sit and eat their lunch at their desk and watch us. And that's a new way to enjoy the show. So if you're watching now, I hope you are having a good lunch, listener. And Jesse, we are getting ready to pack our bags now for the final leg of the Judge John Hodgman Road Court. This was a set of trousers with 4 legs, and we're in the 4th leg now, going to Vancouver, British Columbia, Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, San Francisco, California at the SF Sketchfest, and Los Angeles, California. Now, the LA show is sold out, but I'll tell you something. We're still on the hunt for cases. We do multiple cases per night, and if you've got a great case in LA and you don't have tickets and you send it in and we decide to hear it, you're going to the show. It might be the only way to go to the LA show at this point. Same goes for Vancouver, Seattle, and Portland, Oregon, and San Francisco. If you've got a great case and you send it in and you don't have tickets, guess what? You're going to the show if we choose to hear the case. So send your cases in to MaximumFun.org/JJHO. That's where we get all of our cases. Our show runs on your beefs. And if you haven't got tickets for the Seattle, Vancouver, Portland, or San Francisco shows, San Francisco, I called it. San Francisco. What am I, a right-wing podcaster? San Francisco. In any case, get your tickets now at MaximumFun.org/events. Come join us on Groundhog's Day at the Marines Memorial Theater. We're coming home to the Marines Memorial Theater in San Francisco. Sketchfest. It's going to be so much fun. Vancouver, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, the same place for tickets for all of them. MaximumFun.org/events. And once again, send your cases for these live cases, MaximumFun.org/JJHO, and let us know that you're going to be at the show or would like to be.
You know something cool about Vancouver, British Columbia, John? Not only is it the home of, I'll just say it, probably my favorite Max Fun podcast of all, Stop Podcasting Yourself.
Stop Podcasting Yourself.
It is also the home
Graham and Dave
of another very special podcast to me. I'm going to be staying, when we're in Vancouver, I'm going to be staying with my friends Helen and Martin, Helen Zaltzman and Martin Zaltz-Ostwick. They are podcasting partners together on many podcasts, including Helen's show, The Illusionist. But Helen just announced the return of one of my favorite podcasts of all time, Answer Me This, with her podcasting partner, Ollie Mann, of literal decades. And I'm so excited about it. I'm hoping that I will be staying at Helen's house and get to like peep in on one of the new recording sessions for the new Answer Me This. I'm so excited about it.
That's really great that you're going to get to stay with Helen. I will stay in a hotel room.
Great. Good for you.
I'll watch Canadian television.
Indeed.
Yeah. We are eager to hear all of your cases, of course, on any subject, no matter how small or how big, no matter where you are, even if you're not coming to any of the shows. We got to get those beefs, right, Jesse?
We need them at MaximumFun.org/JJHO. No case too big or too small. And we'll talk to you next time on the Judge John Hodgman podcast.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
supported
directly
by you.